for those of you who say, yeah, my dog training isn't working, Susan. So you and your current situation with your dog right now might be in one of two places. You might have like a new dog, a new puppy, who is kind of a blank slate. Maybe there's some chewing and there's a lot of puppy type behaviors, but you aren't dealing with any serious problems. And unfortunately, so many people get that puppy and think, oh, I'm one of the lucky ones. This one's going to be good. And as my mentor, Bob Bailey, always says, reinforcement builds behavior. And if you aren't very conscious of the reinforcement in your puppy's life, the environment's going to be building that behavior if it's not going to be you. And so that puppy that seems to be so loving and really does everything you want, that stage is going to end very soon for you. Now, I can tell you that for my own puppies, it just never ends because I intentionally build in the reinforcement I want to get the puppy of my dreams every single time. So for some of you, you might be coming here because you've got the new puppy. Thank you for being here now. Now, for others of you, you are in a predicament. You haven't been as aware of what punishment or reinforcement that has been going on in your dog's life that has both created behaviors that you don't want to deal with and potentially fears and reactivities that you don't know how to deal with. And so if that's where you are, let's make this super easy for you. The first thing we always deal with when we're dealing with a challenge is we decide, is this a behavior or is this an emotion? Because we do not train, sit down, come, heal if we have an emotional challenge. As I mentioned in podcast episode number 297, we look at what do we have to desensitize? Then how can we help counter condition? And then we look to, all right, now I'm ready. I want to bridge that gap and I want to start using really strategic reinforcement-based dog training. Now, if those of you with the puppy, you're both, yes, going to continue to condition positive experiences for that puppy. Super important for a new puppy, but you're also going to intentionally use reinforcement to create a bond. Now, how does that bond start? The biggest mistake some people will have you do with that puppy, it goes back to masking. Taking a cookie, putting it on the puppy's nose, and getting them to do whatever you want by following a cookie. Eventually, that cookie's not going to be very attractive. So rather than taking that approach, let's use the cookie, whatever that is that your dog currently likes. Let's first grow other reinforcers. Maybe you've got dog kibble. Maybe you've got some homemade dog treats. Maybe you've got some chicken breast that you've roasted up. You've got to have a selection of reinforcement with different values and shouldn't all be food. What about toys? If you got a puppy, let's get a long toy that they can chase. Let's get them interacting with the toy. Let's get them bringing it to you every single time you ask. You never throw a toy for a puppy unless you're willing to bet the other person in the room, I bet you $100 this puppy's going to bring it right back to me. Otherwise, if you throw a toy for a puppy, what's going to happen? Exactly. You don't know. There's a chance the puppy will go, that was fun, and bring it back. There's an equal chance they will say, this thing squeaks, and take off in the other direction. Or, as my terriers always did, the first day I brought them home, when they'd get a toy, they would just try to eviscerate it. So there's so much reinforcement that can happen away from you. What we need for either the dog that we're trying to rehabilitate because there's a challenge in your household and the puppy that we want to create really intentional pathways, we need to have a plan. And that plan is going to include manners. Things like, yes, we don't want the puppy to bite. Maybe you don't want that puppy to jump up on you, or you don't want the puppy to get on the furniture. Whatever the manners looks like, you have to envision, what does this look like 2 years from now? When guests come to my house, what do I want? We've got to lay down the foundation that can happen now. What does it look like when eventually you are walking your puppy or dog out on leash? What does that look like? Chaos of them pulling you from seeing a dog to person to bush to bicycle? Or is it a dog that's engaging with you? That engagement comes through strategic reinforcing games that you can do while you're out on a walk. You don't always have to have cookies because, quite honestly, the cookies are not going to be able to compete with a bicycle or the bunny or the squirrel going up the tree. But the games will if you've created them in a way that the dog has focus for you, in a way that we first are growing confidence. We're growing confidence in one specific room in your house. I ask my students to set up a training den. We grow confidence with a few behaviors, interactive games, interactive behaviors, possibly a few tricks. While we're in this stage, guess what happens to the rest of the time when you don't have the time to focus on that puppy? We manage the puppy's or the dog we're rehabilitating, we manage that behavior. If you trained your puppy intentionally, let's say 3 to 5 minutes a day, and you manage the behavior outside of that, probably within 2 weeks, you would see a big difference in your puppy's behavior. If you could do 2 or 3 of those 3 to 5 minute sessions a day, you would see a massive difference in 2 weeks. But if you are like most people, where you say, okay, we're going to do some of this training stuff that Susan talks about for 2 to 3 minutes a day, and then you get busy on the computer and your puppy gets to chew the furniture, bark at the people walking by on the window and the back of the couch maybe, play with the other dogs, go in and out of the dog door to dig holes in the backyard. All of that unmanaged time is building reinforcement where? Away from you. 3 minutes with you, and the other waking moments, all that reinforcement happens away from you. And the 3 minutes you did training your dog is too small of an investment of relationship building to combat with the reinforcement that that dog or puppy gets for building a relationship with everything that's magical and amazing away from you. And so what we need to do is we need to be very strategic.